Welcome back to Carib 21, wherever in the Caribbean or in the diaspora you're watching from. So I have some breaking news coming out of Africa. This news today is coming out of Côte d'Ivoire, aka Ivory Coast. And if you don't know Ivory Coast is the home of Africa's most celebrated player, Didier Drogba. And what apparently is happening in Ivory Coast today, coming from news sources, is that there's a military coup currently undergoing in Ivory Coast, and the president of Ivory Coast is nowhere to be found. And Ivory Coast shares a border with Burkina Faso, and I know we have been hearing Burkina Faso in the news, especially for the month of May. Pretty much every day we have been hearing about Burkina Faso because of the young African leader, Ibrahim Traore. And apparently what is going on in Africa, because what is going on in places like Burkina Faso, in Niger, in Mali, is that the French government was like pretty much a colonizer of those African countries, and they were hoisted in recent times, in the past 4 years, and the French government is not willing to give up those African countries. And with Côte d'Ivoire or Ivory Coast, one of the only stronghold that the French government, the president of France, they are still holding on to Ivory Coast. So what is going on in Ivory Coast now? There is an uprising, and the military and young people in Ivory Coast, they are determined that, look, you are not going to use Ivory Coast as a military base for France to get to Burkina Faso, because apparently that is the plan. The French military is lining up in Côte d'Ivoire to go and overthrow the government of Burkina Faso, which is Ibrahim Traore. So this has been like a development that has been going on for the past couple of months in that part of Africa. And this is interesting. We are living in a time like we have never seen before. In my lifetime, we have never seen anything like this. We have seen revolution in different parts of Africa. We have seen revolution. We have seen like in Zimbabwe. We have seen in Angola. We have seen revolution right across Africa, but individual. But this is different. Most of the young people in Africa seem to be inspired by Ibrahim Traore. And in recent times, we have been seeing more young people out of Africa pushing their government to support this leader in Ibrahim Traore. And so this is what we're seeing going on now. So this is a new development. It is still undergoing, and it is a very sensitive development. And I'm going to share some information, but because of YouTube's policy, like I will leave some of the information, some of the clips on the screen. Like I have a clip that I pull up from a news article in coming out of Africa called Tell. So I'll leave it on the screen so you can see what is going on. And apparently the internet in Côte d'Ivoire is down because from what I'm hearing, the French government and shut down the internet because they don't want the information to be going out, but it is still getting out. And one of the things that caused, I think, this uprising and what is going on is that the French president, the other day, the French president made some comment on the internet which pretty much sent Africa in a frenzy. So this is what the French president had to say. We leave African countries to manage on their own. Now is not the time. Africa remains the least developed continent, and history shows we have a role to play in supporting the growth. A complete withdrawal could halt progress. There is still much work for us to do in Africa, and we believe they are not fully ready to thrive without our involvement. So that is the statement from the President of France, Emmanuel Macron. Yes, so that was Emmanuel Macron. So just imagine the audacity for them to go in Africa, that not their place, to go into countries in Africa, to colonize these places, to take all their natural resources for decades, their diamonds, their gold, all their natural resources, all the natural minerals from the earth, and now to look at these countries in Africa and to say, look, I am not leaving because you are not developed and you can't be developed with me. The audacity of that. So that statement sent a lot of young people in Africa in a frenzy. And this, I think this is the result that we're seeing from it. And it is so interesting that what is going on in this like time period, this coincide with what is going on in the Caribbean, where Rastafarian community across the Caribbean, in Guyana, in Grenada, in Jamaica, in Barbados, like right across the Caribbean, this week on the 25th, that they will be celebrating Liberation Day. So that is Rastafarians right across the region coming together, letting their voice heard that, look, we are standing with Africa, and this time is going to be different. We have seen the social media protests from all across the world. Like, look, we saw what you did to Sankara. We saw what you did to the different leaders in Africa, like Gaddafi, and those leaders who all they wanted was to make Africa self-sustainable and to bring Africa into the developed world. And those leaders were taken out. But this time is going to be different. That is the protest that we're seeing online. So I'm going to show you a couple clips of what some of the protests that took place already. There's some in Grenada, there's some in Jamaica, and this week, Sunday, May 25th, they will be celebrating the Caribbean community, the Rastafarian community in the Caribbean will be celebrating this young leader, Ibrahim Traore, and uniting Africa and liberating Africa. So here's some clip from some of the protests that took place earlier this month.
My name is Priest Wesley Kelly. I'm the high priest for the Haile Selassie Jah Rastafari Royal Ethiopian Judah Coptic Church. We are here today to celebrate and to upkeep the work of Ibrahim Traore, the president of Burkina Faso. We are in support of the president for the liberation of our black mother country, Africa. So while we are gathered here in support of Ibrahim Traore, the black liberator that may come in will be in coordination of Black Liberation Day. So that's why we are all gathered here today. The 30th of the month, that this month, April, is the month of the Rastafari month, that we have claimed proclamation in 2017 that this month must be recognized as the Rastafari month. And that's why we are here in support of Ibrahim Traore to liberate Mother Africa from the white colonizers.
Blessed be the Most High Emperor Haile Selassie I, the first, Jah Rastafari. We are here today as African descendants in the diaspora. We are here supporting our African leaders coming together in one unity to show love, to show peace, to show joy and happiness to Mother Africa once more. So we are here standing up for the rights of our people. The last year, Jah Rastafari.
What led to this gathering this morning?
It's just the fire that burn from colonialism. We make them know so to ease off and leave and alone. So you know? Yeah, so you know what go? I just Africa we say. Round and about near and far. Worldwide, Mama Africa, to everyone. All African leaders just make we unite and come together in one. Yeah. And all Caribbean islands. Yeah. So you know Jamaica have to lead out for the world and its people. So you don't know. One perfect love, Rastafari. Yeah man, this is I So Strong. I'm here to make it right, I'll never make it wrong. Rast, I So Strong. Blessed love.
The work of our leaders must take a page out of Ibrahim Traore's book that he have written now, The Changing of the Guard, to liberate our motherland and our fatherland. Jamaica is the fatherland. Africa, Ethiopia is our motherland. So we in this island home, the island in the sun, must separate, must agitate for our rights. So it's a great pleasure to share this moment with the eye. Black liberation. Black
The
liberation.
Rastafarian community in Grenada is gearing up for Liberation Day 2025 on Sunday. The Rastafari Organization for Centralization, in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism, Creative Economy and Culture, will host a sacred commemoration of All African Liberation Day in front of the Esplanade Mall, St. George's. This global observance is expected to highlight revolutionary unity and cultural pride. This year's activity will place special focus on the example of Burkina Faso, led by militant leader Ibrahim Traore. One of the event organizers, Kobina Eben, explained why Captain Traore's example was chosen for recognition.
This is a border which cannot be manipulated by pieces of paper printed by the slave master to regulate. And once you cannot be corrupted, then your vision, however big or small, is possible to manifest. And his example is so powerful, trying to kill him over 20 times. His people have rallied around him so strongly, and the vision that he shares and what he represents. And he comes from a line of martyrs, because before him, Sankara died in the same mission, and he was killed. And now this brother has taken over. It's like we had a Morris Bishop, and the Morris Bishop was killed, and we're still in the painful process of healing before we could actually raise another leader.
Organizers are promising an enriching experience for the entire family on Sunday, with exhibitions of African-inspired books, arts and crafts, traditional food and drinks, and official speeches and cultural performances. The public is encouraged to wear African attire in solidarity and celebration.
It's a global effect of African Liberation Day this year. And when Africa owns the resources, when African people benefit from the resources that Africa have, then we could probably talk world peace more realistically. Right? Getting to that point, however, is where we're at. We're raising consciousness this year. We're saying Grenada has a connection, a deep connection to Africa. It's time we recognize that. It's time we begin to have social and economic and spiritual and political interactions with Africa. This year it's a Sunday. It's being held in St. George's Town in front of the Esplanade Mall. We've been kindly offered the space to have these celebrations there. We're asking everyone to wear African dress on Sunday. Whether you're going to church, whether you're coming to the event, whether you're in the community, we're asking people, everyone can't come to St. George's, but if you can, please do. Otherwise, cook a pot in the village, play some drums, say some stories, you know, spread the concept of the African history we do have remaining, spread it to the young people.
Of course, the intention is not that sort of hostility, because this is a peaceful march.
That's correct.
That is meant to bring awareness and, I imagine, continue to draw attention to the positives.
That's correct.
Tell me then, in terms of coordinating, Rihanna, a little bit as to how it was thought out, like the route, for example, location and time, so we get a sense of how we are adding to the positivity of the cause.
Well, en route, the first event, I know you all may have, if you're not familiar with the first event we carried out, it was something that they put together in 48 hours at the Coup Tourist Center. That was April the 30th.
Okay.
And the turnout was applauding. So with this march that is going on globally, we said, you know what, there's our next opportunity to now get people from a wider scope, different groups, cultural groups, and, you know, youths involved in this march that is happening globally. So we decided that, you know what, first we wanted to use Woodford Square, but now we are at Brian Lara Promenade,
Okay.
where, you know, you get a wider audience, people transiting up and down.
Right.
And we're also doing the march from the Coup Tourist Center, where there'll be another African Liberation Day event taking place there.
Mm-hmm.
So the patrons from there, they'll be coming down into town, marching from the Coup Tourist Center at 3 p.m. on the 25th of May.
Right.
To Brian Lara Promenade,
Okay.
where we'll already be based there.
Now, when we get to the promenade, what happens
When we get to the
next?
promenade now, that's it. We have artists that will be performing. We have artisan markets, and there'll be speeches from, you know, guest speakers, such as Dr. David Mohammed, and persons from the different mansions of Rastafari and other cultural groups as well.
Now, Brother Bamboyana, how do persons get involved being a part of this? Maybe they can't coordinate because it's already organized, but what can we do beyond the march itself?
Well, what we're hoping is that this activity is going to bring together, especially our young people, who are the ones we are hoping to bring up, because you see, Traore is really motivated and inspiring the youth. So we're really hoping that we've been doing a lot of promotional work on it through social media and so forth. And so we're hoping again by moving the activity to the Brian Lara Promenade, it's going to at least, even those who may not be aware of it, but you know, that is always a busy area. And so in itself will draw people who might be curious as to what's going on, and it will be able to elevate their minds and, as to what is going on. So that is partly how we are hoping to reach a wider perspective of you know, our audience, I should say.
Well, it definitely is the right place. The Promenade is going to get that attention. But the particulars of Traore, in terms of his leadership, he's a staunch critic of neo-colonialism. And I'm wondering if there is any parallels or any similarities that we as Trinbagonians can draw from his leadership as well.
Glad you asked that, because, you know, we're looking at the work that he has been doing with young people and how he has been able to bring together different sectors of his society, especially in the women and other people in rural communities, to start their own agricultural projects and so forth, where they have started a lot of factories and things where they're growing their own food and so forth. So I'm looking and seeing how can we now here in Trinidad and Tobago begin to mobilize our young people, especially in the agricultural sector, because, you know, that is one of the areas that we need to start to produce our own food more.
For sure.
So we are hoping that, you know, through forming cooperatives, collective operations, you know, as all matches say, we always talk about unity in the community, so that in so doing we can create a lot more economic activities to galvanize our young people, especially, you know.
I like the focus on the young people for sure.
Yeah.
I also like the focus on unity, but this is just one of many activities, I imagine. So, Rihanna, are there already other activities that are planned ahead to continue to spread this message and this drive?
That's a nice question you asked. Going forward, we hope that, you know, we'll have other events so that it won't just be this one-time event. What next? So it will have something next so that, you know, the viewing population, they could look out for something more. That we could keep the momentum going, keep the momentum flowing, you know.
And brother, what do you hope that people take away, if a singular message at all, from this march, so that in terms of those other and future events that they want to be a part of, that they carry on that message?
Well, I think the most important message is that Africa has awakened. The lion is no longer sleeping. Africa is awakened, and this is our time, and we are going to change the dynamics of how we've been as a people, how we've been seeing ourselves, and how we need to think about our contribution to the world that has been hidden for the longest time. So this is going to be a time for us to really let our voices be heard.
Okay, so those were just a few clips coming out of the Caribbean, and I'm going to keep you updated this week on the 25th of the different celebration going across the Caribbean. And what is interesting this time, why I feel that this time is different. As I said earlier, we have seen this before. We have seen this with Zimbabwe. We have seen this with Rwanda. We have seen this with different countries in Africa, South Africa with Nelson Mandela. But this time, it's not like individual countries doing it. We saw that Burkina Faso, that Mali, that Niger, they already in 3 years, they form an African bank for the three countries, a central bank for those three African countries. And what Muammar Gaddafi wanted to do with creating a United States of Africa, this is back on the agenda, and they're trying to bring in as much African countries as possible. So I believe that what we're seeing going on now in Côte d'Ivoire, in Ivory Coast, this is the military saying that, look, we are taking over and we are going to stand with places like Niger, with places like Burkina Faso, and we want Africa for Africans. We need the French government out. So this is what I believe is going on now. And as I said, I believe that what makes this time different is that they have alliance in places like Russia and in China. We have heard reports of like Chinese military and Russian military that's on the border of Burkina Faso. And I don't believe that the French government would want to do anything that would put themselves in danger in terms of harming anyone from a military, from Russian military or Chinese military. So this is very interesting. We're living interesting times, and I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm cheering for Africa, because Africa, gone are the days with the image of like poor, hungry kids in Africa and people from European countries reaching out to send food and to send aid and supplies, and to show that desperate, desolate look in Africa. And now we are realizing that, look, Africa is the richest continent in terms of natural resources, in terms of diamond, in terms of minerals, golds. But they come in and they take those resources and they come back and give us charity. So, guys, sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think that this is going to be different from what happened back in the days? Do you think that this is going to be different from Muammar Gaddafi? Do you think that this is going to be different from a South Africa, a Nelson Mandela South Africa? Sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this one. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.